Hello. My name is Diane Rodrigue. At age 30, I was a happy, productive citizen of Ontario. Now I am quadriplegic, on mechanical ventilation, and will be dependent on the Ontario government for the cost of my care for the rest of my life.
The video you are about to see is not a high-priced production. The tragedies are felt at home, so this is where the stories are told. It is the best these families can do. They don't have millions of dollars to spend as the chiropractors did in the inquest into the death of Lana Dale Lewis. Yet, with less than 1% of the resources, the truth did again prevail. Chiropractic neck manipulation does cause death.
He talked about the reservoirs, thumbs were hooked on his carpenter's hook, and screamed it in the sun. Smiled wide many times, think it smiled back once.
My name is Laurie Jean Mathiasen. I used to live in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. I love to play guitar. I gave my guitar a nickname, Spencer. When I would find a family that had no food, Mom and I would raid our own fridge. No one should go hungry. I wanted to be a kindergarten teacher.
Suffered any head trauma, had she fallen, had something hit her, had, or anything like that, and it was only the chiropractor that I'd laid a hand on.
I trust that God took her because he had a reason. I just wish you'd explain to me what that reason was.
Youngsters, in 1 minute, she was fine. And a few minutes later at the chiropractic office, I saw my baby laying there, seizuring and unconscious.
I always felt like my kids were next to invincible because they were my kids. Nothing could happen to them. I sure found out that was wrong.
And will be dependent on the Ontario government for the cost of my care for the rest of my life. I am here not because I had a serious illness like cancer, diabetes, or a brain tumor. I am here because I had a headache. And on January 20th, 1994, received a chiropractic neck manipulation. The chiropractor was following what he was taught in a non-scientific school. One that you, the politicians, allow. Why do you allow citizens of Ontario like me to think that these people are in any way doctors? You may give all types of excuses, such as medical doctors also make mistakes. But medical doctors treat serious illnesses. What happened to me was not a mistake. It is part of what chiropractors are taught to do. They will argue that this is rare. Well, I don't believe that. It is not rare to me. I deserve to have the best quality of life that you, the government, can afford. I should be able to live at home where I am happy supported, and encouraged to lead a productive life despite my disability. Now you have the chance to see that this never happens to anyone else. The chiropractors and their regulators believe in neck manipulation to treat everything from ear infections in babies to tailbone pain. So please, politicians, it is in your power. Only you can do it. Never let a chiropractor turn and twist the neck of another citizen. Call for a moratorium on all high neck chiropractic manipulations. To my fellow citizens, I say, never let a chiropractor touch your neck.
Before the accident, I had a fishing trip here with my two sisters and my brother. This is me now.
My name is Laurie Jean Mathiasen. My name is also Donna Claire Fawcett. My name is Christy Bedenbaugh. My name is also Wendy Venegas. My name is Ron Granger. My name is also Renate Dora Labonte. My name is Lana Dale Lewis.
Canada's chiropractors are assuring clients of quality care tonight in the midst of another lawsuit alleging wrongful death of a patient. The family of an Ontario woman who died of a stroke claims her death was triggered by chiropractic neck treatment, the same treatment received by a Saskatchewan patient who died last year. CTV's medical correspondent Avis Favreau has more.
Lana Dale Lewis died in the fall of 1996, 6 days after having her neck adjusted at this Toronto chiropractor's office.
Life hasn't been the same since it's happened. I feel what's happened has to be brought to justice.
Across the country, there are about a dozen lawsuits or cases pending that claim neck manipulations triggered a disabling or fatal stroke. Cases like that of Laurie Mathiasen, who died in February of last year after an adjustment at this Saskatoon clinic. Her family is suing for wrongful death.
Yeah.
Others, like Alan Lear, charged that a chiropractic neck manipulation left him severely disabled.
I didn't want this to happen.
And that's how the story of Lana Dale Lewis came out. She died in 1996, 2 years before I did. According to the coroner in charge, Dr. Neighborg, he felt that he had a promise from the chiropractors that in exchange for not conducting an inquest, they would warn the members about the dangerous neck manipulations. They never did. I might be alive had they done what the coroner felt was they were supposed to do.
Hi, my name is Mike Ford. Lana Dale Lewis was my sister-in-law. She's my wife, Judy's sister, the third oldest of 13 children. I've prepared a statement that I would like to read to you. Lana Dale Lewis was my sister-in-law and I loved her immensely. Martin Dale, my only son, was given Lana's middle name in loving remembrance of a woman who suffered from migraine headaches and was killed completely unnecessarily by a chiropractor who chose to manipulate Lana's neck to remedy her discomfort. An autopsy into Lana's death concluded that Lana's death was caused by a neck manipulation, as did a 2-year inquest into Lana's death, and yet Lana is not included in any statistical measures of the risks associated with or injuries resulting from chiropractic neck manipulations. Common chiropractic assertions that the risks of being injured from a neck manipulation are 1 in a million result from the fact that people who are killed, blinded, paralyzed, or in any way incapacitated from strokes caused by chiropractic neck manipulations are never properly documented in the statistical analysis conducted within the chiropractic industry. Neck manipulations are routinely administered to treat maladies as common as headaches, tennis elbow, and tailbone pain. They are administered on infants that suffer from colic and bedwetting. For reasons that I can never hope to appreciate, society has allowed chiropractors to carry the title doctor despite their lack of training in medical science. Anyone who had proper foundations in medical science would immediately acknowledge the sheer absurdity associated with the belief that twisting a neck could provide a structural remedy for tennis elbow or indeed any of the afflictions referenced above. In the meantime, injuries and deaths go on occurring as the public health interest remains subordinate to the commercial interests of the chiropractic industry.
What risks are you taking with neck manipulation?
It's beyond cruel. That's what it is.
When CTV's W5 continues.
I was able to get up and go to the desk. Shortly after, I felt short of breath. And I could feel something wrong, so I went back into his office, laid down on the couch, and that's when my limbs started to stop moving. I think that chiropractic neck manipulation are very dangerous and should not be done.
The question of just how dangerous has erupted into a bitter public war of words in this country. It's a battle for the minds and the necks of Canadians. On one side are chiropractors who say that neck adjustments are perfectly safe. It's a procedure they've been using for over 100 years. But on the other side are medical doctors who say there is mounting evidence that the procedure is far more risky than patients have been led to believe. So is it one stroke in 5,000, one in 100,000, or one in a million? Whatever the risk, Les Lamage says it's not worth it. The Kitchener, Ontario man ended up in intensive care with a stroke 5 days after visiting a chiropractor. When we saw him, he was still on a respirator and struggling to communicate with his wife, Florence.
Write it for me. C. No. What was that? N-O. G. No.
Until his stroke, Les had been a healthy, active 66-year-old. His doctors say he had none of the risk factors for stroke at his age.
This should never have happened. And I would not want this, we would not want this to ever happen to any other family.
Neurologists claim they see far too many strokes they believe are linked to neck manipulations.
We say the public needs to know they are not being given the correct information.
Those who might be at risk are generally young and healthy and cannot be identified by clinical or radiological examination. No one can accurately predict if or when an artery will tear, and that's why the neurologists are speaking out against neck manipulation. That's why they took an unprecedented step. 63 specialists across the country signed their name to this public letter warning Canadians about the danger of neck manipulation.
This is not a personal attack on chiropractors. This is not an emotional attack on the chiropractic profession. This is looking at the scientific evidence as it is accumulating in the 21st century.
That's Dr. Brad Stewart. He was in Saskatchewan when I died. He actually held my torn artery in his hands. No wonder he feels so strongly about it.
Granger, and this is my son Glenn, and it's 2.5 years since my husband Ronald and Glenn's father passed away in November, shortly after having had chiropractic neck manipulation. He had been suffering from headaches and was looking for some relief. This has left a huge hole in our lives, and we're hoping that some way we can help others maybe avoid this kind of pain that we've experienced. And we're asking that you will consider banning all high neck manipulations by chiropractors in order to avoid this in the future. Thank you for listening.
Sought chiropractic care for a headache, and after receiving his treatment he returned home, and within a few hours he was complaining of more severe headache and also a severe neck pain. He suffered with this for 3 or 4 days, gradually getting worse and worse, and on Saturday evening my mother was determined to take him to a hospital for Sunday. Upon arriving at the hospital on a Sunday, within a very short period of time, he slipped into a coma, which he never recovered. And within a week of slipping into the coma, he passed away. He was a vital and strong man, which this shouldn't have happened to. And fortunately, for him, we think he was lucky that he did pass away and he wasn't confined to a wheelchair or as a quadriplegic or suffering from a stroke, which was caused by a chiropractor. And as you know, if he had suffered from that and was in a wheelchair, he would be on health care and you'd be taking care of him for a long period of time, which is an extreme expense on the healthcare system. We think that all chiropractic upper neck manipulation should be banned and should not be performed in Canada, and the government should take appropriate steps to prevent chiropractors from performing this treatment. The risks from performing such a treatment for simple ailments such as a flu or a headache and somebody coming out with as a quadriplegic or paraplegic or even worse dying, it's just not worth the risk. If it's 1 in 1,000 or 1 in 100,000 or 1 in a million, a headache is not worth dying for. Most headaches will go away, and we think the government of Alberta, and especially across Canada, should disallow chiropractic upper neck manipulations. And we hope that you make the right decision. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Keith Granger, and thank you for giving us this opportunity to share with you our experience and our pain in relation to my father's passing approximately 2.5 years ago. I had the occasion, I had visited him on one of the nights just preceding his death, and he was in a lot of pain, very agitated, couldn't sit, couldn't stand in one spot for any length of time. And I asked him, I said, "What's wrong? How did you hurt yourself?" And he had told me that he had been to the chiropractor and the chiropractor had manipulated his neck, and it was very painful. I visited him another day that week, and he had been back to the chiropractor, and the chiropractor had manipulated his neck again with intent that there be another appointment on the Friday. I asked my father, I said, "Well, you're going to keep this appointment?" Obviously he was in a lot of pain, and he said that he was afraid to phone and cancel it because he felt that he might be talked out of it. My father was a doctor and a very learned man, and the only thing that I could assess from that there was a relationship of trust that he had with the chiropractor, and in feeling that trust, that he felt that he might be drawn back into having his neck manipulated again. 3 days later, my father was in a coma and in the hospital, and a week later, within a week, had passed away. What I'd like to see is a moratorium on upper neck manipulations, and that every time I read an article in the paper or see it in the news about a settlement of a lawsuit or difficulties with things like this, it's minimized by the Chiropractic Association in the sense that it's 1 in a million or 1 in 2 million. But the numbers seem to keep climbing, but it's always only 1. So I think that we need the government to come forward and assist Canadians and Albertans with this type of thing. There is a professional obligation from chiropractors and doctors and all professions alike to bear responsibility to the people that are in their care. And when we see that events are minimized and things aren't being taken care of in that respect, there has to be other intervention to help the public with their decisions in their care. And so please consider and please assist all Albertans from not only a healthcare perspective, but the families with their pain that they've gone through by making the right decisions.
My name is Sharon Mathiasen. My daughter died on February 7th, 1998 of a stroke caused by the dangerous, unwarranted practice of chiropractic neck manipulation. In September of 1998, an inquest was held in the province of Saskatchewan into the tragic and senseless death of my 20-year-old daughter, Laurie Jean. 2 years prior to my daughter's death, Lana Dale Lewis of Toronto was also killed by a chiropractic manipulation. Our family is thankful for the support we have received from the family of Lana Dale Lewis. We know that the enactment by the Ministries of Health of the Laurie Jean Lana Dale Memorial Moratorium will be the only effective way to prevent such deaths from happening to others.
In the 6 years since my jury recommendations, the College of Chiropractors of Saskatchewan has done absolutely nothing to protect the public. My jury told them that they must have a warning clearly visible in every chiropractor's office about the risk of neck manipulations. Did they do that? Heck no. Like all the other regulators, they just try to tell you how safe neck manipulation is.
Politicians, may I remind you that the cause of Laurie's death, as determined by the jury, was traumatic rupture of the left vertebral artery. The cause was chiropractic manipulation. Laurie's left artery was torn on the inside layer lining, and it was punctured clear through into the outside. Not only was her arteries clogged with blood clots, but blood spilled out into the cavity of her brain. May I remind you that 24 hours after the manipulation, my daughter was brain dead. And you have to realize what that means. It means that blood pressure went extremely high, that brain tissue ended up at the bottom of her spinal cord. Traumatic means done by violence from an outside source, not inherent, not from within. People who die from chiropractic manipulation die a violent, horrible death.
Most strokes happen when a clot breaks off from the heart and moves up to the top of the brain. But a stroke linked to neck manipulation usually happens here at the back of the neck. Two thin vertebral arteries feed blood to the brain. They're most vulnerable right at the top, where they bend against the bone. That's where the arteries can tear, releasing a blood clot into the brainstem. It can happen accidentally with a sudden twist of the head, and it can happen during a neck adjustment. But the chiropractors say the chance of this happening in their hands is virtually nil.
A physiotherapist in Australia says the risk is 1 in 4,000. Another chiropractor says it's 1 in 20,000. Let's really find out.
But what is the real risk? Neurologists dispute the chiropractor's odds of 1 in a million treatments.
We think it's about 1 in 100,000.
Dr. John Norris is head of the Canadian Stroke Consortium. It's been collecting data gathered from neurologists across the country who believe the benefits are not worth the risk.
Most of the patients that see chiropractors, the great majority are going there with neck manipulation, are going there because of headaches. And you have to decide, even if the manipulation makes your headache better, is it worth the risk of having a serious complication such as death or disability, even though it may be 1 in 100,000?
So far from the truth.
The chiropractors challenge the scientific validity of the Stroke Consortium's data.
The study is flawed.
It is not something that should be taken seriously because it has, in its own interpretations, has made magical leaps from one set of statistics to another that we find offensive.
60 years of evidence. The Journal of the American Medical Association, the Journal of the Canadian Medical Association, the British Medical Journal, the Journals Neurology, Stroke, Pediatrics, New England Journal of Medicine, American Journal of Emergency Medicine, the Mayo Clinic, Johns Hopkins Hospital, Claude Bernard Hospital, the Veterans Administration Medical Center in California, etc., etc., etc.
This study, published last year in the Canadian Medical Association Journal, found the risk of stroke even higher for young people under age 45. It calculates the odds between 1 in 5,000 and 1 in 50,000. The scientists admit they can't calculate the true risk without more research. So is it 1 stroke in 5,000, 1 in 100,000, or 1 in a million?
And let me tell you another thing about risk. It's not like we have something wrong with us to be taking any risk at all. It's not like if something goes wrong, all we get is a tummy ache. I mean, we have a lifelong stroke. We can die. And another thing about risk, it is happening to us, young women, with nothing really wrong.
And there's a loop.
The medical doctors accuse the chiropractors of twisting and tearing too many arteries.
You stretch the loop against the bone.
The chiropractors accuse the neurologists of twisting the truth.
Maybe well-intentioned, but I think that they should ground their comments based on good science, which we in our profession have done over the last many decades.
Neck manipulation to treat Lana Dale for migraine. Neck manipulation to treat Renate Labonte for migraine. Neck manipulation to treat Christy for sinusitis. Neck manipulation for ear infections in babies. Neck manipulation to treat low back pain. Neck manipulation to treat autism, AIDS, improves the immune system of the body, treat asthma, digestive disorders. No one should call that good science.
They believe that neck manipulation should be used to treat pain in the tailbone or the very lower back, which is what Laurie Jean had, or migraine headaches, which is what Lana Dale had. This is the fundamental problem. We are dealing with a false belief system and not a science. And at this point, I'd like you to become aware of and to think about Christy Biedenbaugh from South Carolina, who died one day before her 25th birthday and 4 months before her wedding day. And I would like you to remember Wendy Dale Venegas from San Diego, California, who left a 6-month-old, a 3-year-old, and a 5-year-old, both young women, having had their necks manipulated for sinus headaches.
I asked you, politicians, public, the media, chiropractors, why did I die? Why did we all die? I know why. I died because I had some mild discomfort in my lower back and tailbone, not even a pain. I died because I believe that chiropractors are doctors. After all, politicians gave them that title. My mom warned me that they were not doctors. I didn't believe her. I died because a chiropractor was doing what she was taught, to manipulate the highest area of my neck for the pain in the lowest area of my spine. She did so over 50 times. Why? I died because those who are supposed to regulate chiropractic in the public interest ignore common sense and science and instead fully believe in chiropractic high neck manipulation. Regulation? What a joke! There is none. So let me tell you the real reason. It has to do with the game of golf. I died because chiropractors all across Canada are taught and all the regulators believe in the false theory called the hole-in-one. This idea was started by the founders of chiropractic over 100 years ago. The hole-in-one, that's the real reason millions of high neck manipulations are being done and then being done again and again on the same person. That's the reason it is being done at the top of the neck and not at the lower neck, where actually, just like back pain takes place in the lower area, so does most real neck pain. You can and should read all about it in this book, Spin Doctors, by Paul Benedetti and Wayne MacPhail. Lana and Renate died for the same reasons. The hole-in-one theory to treat a migraine. Lana, no neck pain, just a headache. Christy and Wendy, sinusitis. The hole-in-one. Recently, the CBC program did a show called Marketplace, where journalist Wendy Mesley raised the concern about chiropractors being opposed to immunization. Many chiropractors are against immunization because they believe instead the hole-in-one theory. You have to crack up here because lower down, of course, there is no hole-in-one. Now, why would a chiropractor even care about immunization? Very simple, and this is key. If a vaccine works, the neck manipulation to improve the immune system of our body is not necessary. So there's the choice, vaccine or neck manipulation. If one works, you don't need the other.
Hi, welcome to Marketplace. I'm Erica Johnson in Vancouver. Who hasn't heard the media message to get a flu shot? After SARS, a lot of us are pretty scared of getting sick, but not everyone. Some people are more afraid of getting a needle. Say kids shouldn't be vaccinated for measles, whooping cough, even for polio. And you might be surprised by who's behind this movement not to vaccinate.
Ted Corin is not a disease specialist. He's not a medical doctor.
MDs are not reporting it.
No, he's a chiropractor. You might have thought chiropractors were back specialists. Among Colin's patients are hundreds of children and some babies. 18-month-old Ethan McEwen is here with his mom, getting a chiropractic adjustment. And a refresher on the vaccination debate.
And with all this flu shot information, what are you gonna do?
There you go. He won't be getting the flu shot. He won't be getting his other vaccines either.
Now look at that. Grab the head and turn it sideways. That's a so-called adjustment. Do you really think that that did something? Now watch closely. A push on the back. I mean, what did that do? Taking the head and turning it. What did that do? Look closely. Absolutely nothing. No wonder the chiefs of pediatrics of all our hospitals call this useless. I wonder if I can adjust my doll. Hey, watch me immunize myself against polio. How about measles next? I wonder if this would work for AIDS. And why wait for a vaccine?
So do you think treatment here helps boost a baby's immunity?
function? Oh yeah.
Against disease?
Yes, yeah. Against cold, against flu. It sounds wacko from the perspective that for 50 years we've vaccinated our children. For 50 years we've relied on this as our main line of defense.
Simpson calling from the Middlesex Lung and Health.
Marianne Simpson is the public health nurse who spoke to the mother and doctor involved. She believes a chiropractor had some influence on the decision not to vaccinate. The mother first agreed to talk to us, but then changed her mind, saying her boss, a chiropractor, had told her not to talk about the vaccination issue.
It's stepping across the line of practice in my mind that they need to be sure that they are practicing.
Another thing that chiropractors do in Saskatchewan is they have what's called Spinal Health Care Week, the first week of every May, and they go into the schools. Basically, it's just a way for them to make money off of kids. Here are some stickers that they hand out. My chiropractor loves me. No, he doesn't. He just loves the money he's making off of you. Kids Chiropractic Club. Here's one here with a lion on it. No lion. Kids love chiropractic with a red heart where love is. Oh, here's another one. Chiropractic turns on my energy. Here's a bumblebee. Be healthy with chiropractic. An elephant here. Don't forget, see your chiropractor regularly. Yeah, and the more you go, and the more times he gets to crack your neck, the more money he makes. And that's what it's all about. Infections, antibiotics, and inflammation. Ear infections. bedwetting and chiropractic, asthma and emphysema, colds, flu, and respiratory disease, tonsillitis, strep throat, and sore throat. My goodness, let's crack the neck of a child with strep throat and get it right better. Learning disorders and chiropractic, that's a real favorite right now.
That's exactly it. That's what we want stopped. Holding the head and twisting the neck. Do what else you want, but stop that. Hear that crack? All it is a gas called nitrous oxide coming out of a solution. I mean, is this good for anything? Many types of safe treatment can be done, but there is no good reason to grab the head and twist the neck. You can see exactly what is dangerous right in these pictures. See it? Hands on the head and then a twist. Never.
Herself, so I need my MLA, Pat Atkinson, to speak for her and support the Laurie Jean-Lana Dale Memorial Moratorium.
Minister and politician. I am a citizen of Ontario and Diane's mother. I pay taxes and I want my money to be used positively to construct and not to support the foolishness of the chiropractician. It's in your power right now to make a law to ban the chiropractor, or at least stopping them of making the neck manipulation.
My name is Nancy Hack, and I think neck manipulation is dangerous and should not be done. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Denis Renate. I'm Diane's brother. I believe what happened to my sister is terribly wrong. I do not wish this upon anybody. It is in your power at this time to do something about it. So I would appreciate it that you do something about it. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kim Gold. I'm Diane's cousin, and I believe that if you could be in Diane's shoes for one day, that you would never allow this to happen again. God bless, and I hope you can make the right decision.
I'm a friend of Diane's, and I'm here to tell you that I do not agree with what has happened to her. Diane went in and seen a chiropractor and had her neck manipulated, and now she's quadriplegic, and I do not wish that to happen to anyone, so I'd like for you to call for a moratorium on all high neck chiropractic manipulations. Thank you.
I think those guys are after money. What they call profession, I call it scam.
Would you want to die or end up in an institution for life because you had a minor muscular pain? Would you want to die or end up in an institution because a chiropractor twisted your neck at C1 for headaches, nervousness, insomnia, head colds, high blood pressure, migraine headaches, nervous breakdowns, amnesia even? Head colds? Yes. High blood pressure, migraine headaches, nervous breakdowns, and so on and so forth. On this pamphlet, those are listed. This is not a figment of my imagination. Would you like, politicians, to have your neck twisted at C2 for sinus trouble, allergies, crossed eyes, deafness, eye troubles, earache, fainting spells, and certain kinds of blindness? As if the optic nerve was in the spinal column when it's completely enclosed in the brain. I bet you did not know that chiropractors were manipulating for these conditions. Politicians prove to us that manipulating for these conditions is beneficial, and tell us what the risk factor associated with any benefit would be. It is horrendously high and catastrophic when the result is stroke and death, and there is no proven scientific benefit for any of these procedures at this point. Please heed the advice of neurologists and pediatricians, radiologists, and orthopedic specialists all across Canada. Never let a chiropractor touch the neck of your child or yourself. And politicians, this is not a turf war. Chiropractic neck manipulation is an issue of public safety. It can only be handled at the level of the Ministries of Health. It is long past the time for the Ministries of Health to make chiropractic accountable and responsible for their procedures. and the catastrophic damage they are creating.
An industry leader from the regulatory body responsible for overseeing the chiropractic industry openly acknowledges the lack of scientific substantiation that neck manipulations have any clinical value in assisting many of the maladies for which they are administered, and yet we allow them to be administered on infants. Society is paying the tab for the senselessness in numerous ways. We are paying it through OHIP billings. We are paying it through the extreme cost of caring for those unfortunate individuals who are injured in these foundationless manipulations, and select individuals are paying the ultimate price, the ruining or the loss of their lives. This cannot and must not be allowed to continue. The moratorium which you are requesting is a decision which we believe should almost be classified as rhetorical. People are being killed and injured through the administering of a technique which, according to a leading expert in the chiropractic industry, has no scientific remedial benefit to a multitude of individuals upon whom the technique is being administered, including infants, and yet this technique is exacting a very heavy economic toll on the Ontario health system. We, the people of Ontario, put our faith in you in asking you to place a moratorium on upper cervical neck manipulations. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Dr. Mark Granger. 2 years ago, my father died following a series of neck manipulations. Up to that time, our family, as well as myself as a physician, was quite ignorant as to the possible consequences of neck manipulations. Our family is asking you, the health minister, as well as provincial legislators, to place an immediate ban on upper neck manipulations. This moratorium we request should be in place, and a special committee be formed to analyze the ways that further deaths and strokes can be avoided. In our opinion, the procedure itself should be banned, and this is the only solution to the problem. The Lana Dale inquest, which resolved recently, provided further medical evidence that these procedures do carry a risk that is unacceptable, and for treating short-term symptoms, for short-term relief, the risk of a stroke or death is totally unacceptable. My family, as well as other families across Canada, are presenting their plight to you, the health ministers, over the next few weeks, and we do hope you will listen to us. This problem will not go away, and at some point you will have to step in. The chiropractic associations do not seem to be accepting their responsibility and preventing this procedure from being done, and we believe it's in your hands, the health minister, to take the decision out of their hands. We hope that you'll act for the people in your province, and this procedure will be stopped.
This should never have happened, and I would not want this. We would not want this to ever happen to any other family.
I didn't want this to happen.
Never let a chiropractor touch your neck.
So, Minister of Health and politicians, let's face it, there are few apparent votes in it for you to call a moratorium on a chiropractic high neck manipulation. These families don't have lobbyists, like the chiropractors do, to come and visit you. They don't have the money the chiropractors do. They don't have thousands of people to write to you. The chiropractors can even have thousands of parents writing how their newborn babies must have their necks manipulated. They organized such a campaign when the government of Manitoba decided not to pay for pediatric chiropractic and to have a new immunization program instead. The politicians caved in, still pay for babies to have their necks manipulated, and no money for proven safe immunizations. What a bunch of irresponsible cowards. So what's in it for you? How about the silent majority who appreciate and rely on science? How about the appreciation of pediatricians all across Canada? How about recognition of the concerns from neurologists all across Canada? How about healthy young women, not dead ones?
May I remind you that 24 hours after the manipulation, my daughter was brain dead. And you have to realize what that means. It means that blood pressure went extremely high, that brain tissue ended up at the bottom of her spinal cord. Traumatic means done by violence from an outside source, not inherent, not from within. People who die from chiropractic manipulation die a violent, horrible death.
I especially want to thank chiropractor Michael Carstensen from Newfoundland, who had the courage to write an editorial in my memory. Also chiropractor Thomas Michaud, who wrote that it is currently impossible to identify patients at risk. Rotational manipulation of the upper cervical spine should be abandoned, and schools should remove such techniques from their curriculums. Mom, Sister Jennifer, Brother Andrew, all those whom I used to bring food to and play guitar for, children who I will never get to teach, goodbye for now. Dad, Renate, Wendy, Christy, Donna, Ron, and Lana Dale, hope they all hear our message. Please stop this now.